The recent COVID pandemic that has pushed an estimated 125 million people into the extreme poverty globally, the first increase in extreme poverty in the 20 years. To meet the magnitude of this need, the government around the world have dramatically escalated the social protection measures, and in particular cash transfer, that is one third of the all the pandemic related social protection platform and those programs that 17% of the world populations or 1.3 billion people that covered at least one COVID related cash payment between 2020 and 2021. Many of the world poorest countries creating an end-to-end system that identifies, enrolls and delivers the financial aid at scale to individuals in need, and that is very challenging. The World Social Protection Report 2020-2022 that the 8.8% of the global working hours were lost in 2020, which is equivalent to 255 million full-time jobs approximately, and that's adversely affecting the unskilled or low-skilled labor on whom the loss of employment that fell the hardest. The only it's exacerbated and the social economic inequalities with a significant population falling in the poverty, but will also have enormous factor for the labor market inequality has arises. The World Bank economic forecast that almost 100 million that pushed into the pandemic induced poverty and the absence of the resilience to the social economic shock among a significant population that has revealed the issues with comprehensive coverage of social protection system worldwide. And the most importantly, it has shown the indispensability of those social protection schemes as the pandemic has triggered a massive rollout of assistance program and the social aids as an immediate retribution to the losses that incurred globally. In India also have a relatively sophisticated social protection system and many important schemes that have developed for the public distribution system and those rural employment guarantee scheme that aim for the uplifting the poorest of the poor. And the Indian experience, those social protections is far from the perfect with those administrative tasks and those logistic matters that highlighted. And that's the important aspect that in this time when the pandemic has affected the Indian economy, the common mass people around the globe, including India, the proper policy and the scheme that related to the beneficiary all over the world and that can uplift the social protection process and the mechanism and that retribution to the losses that globally have faced due to this pandemic, and that 100 million people that pushed into the pandemic induced poverty recently, and those resilience for the social economic that is very important and significant for those people who are surviving for the life and the situation that is going very difficult for them to revive after the post-pandemic situation. And the protection that is far more important and essential for providing those existing and existential security to the most vulnerable people of the society, the most vulnerable classes of the society, and those important schemes that the government has launched and those updation and upgradation, that the most ambitious protection scheme and that is implemented globally, and this is the Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Scheme and the Social Security Scheme aimed at providing 100 days of wage employment to every household in the financial year whose adult member is willing to do those unskilled manual work as a welfare scheme that offer those livelihood security to the rural household. And the scheme has tested during this pandemic when the lockdown has come to the total number of important members and employees that during the first wave that witnessing in India in the pandemic time, that return of those migrant workers to their home and the state that further aggravating those early crises, the economic lockdown that all over the India, and that is the burden of those social protection scheme that is very much evident, makes those important steps, and the migrant worker, they face those difficulties after returning and those early crises, the burden of scheme and the cumulative amount that issues to the registered household, that is the important, and the fact that is we saw those 10% jump in the cumulative number of households that got those jobs and the cards in that time, and that provided by the Ministry of Rural Development. That is proof that how much importance to get those jobs, to secure the family, secure individuals during the tough time, the loss of job, the workers returning after left their jobs, and that is very much important scheme that proved to be a very much important scheme, and that have a tremendous dependency for the workers, especially the migrant workers who came from the working state to their home state, and that is a highly important aspect during this pandemic, that those important schemes and projects and those initiatives that taken has make those situations a little more easy for them during that particular tough time. And now the economy is going to revive, and India is back on the track to get those massive momentum, the growth in the economic forecast, and the GDP estimate that suggests that India will run at those highly ambitious target, and that achieve the $5 trillion Indian economy in the next 4 to 5 years, and that the migrant workers who are working tremendously, and they are a very much important role to play to boost the economy to development of India's economy. And that's the important scenario that furthermore, the badly hit sectors and the construction, hospitality, transportation, they have already reduced those employment, triggering a labor crisis in urban spaces, and those employment scheme will only breach the gap, and those not perfect in entirety, but it will work enormous potential it has, and keeping the poorest of the poor households afloat, stopping them for the further descending into the poverty, and they are gradually recover from the situation, and economy is going to be a very important role for this implementation of this project, that perhaps halting the cycle of poverty and will evaluate those critical situations for India, and that is a perfect program, and the society that working towards to leverage those poor targeting scheme, and that is able to be the program that is linked with those dealing with any poverty criterion that does not have to be under poverty line for many people around the nation mainly, and that is the important aspect for the government to ensure and secure their life. That's all for now. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.